Okay, here we are. Here's an assortment of things I'm just going to walk you through. This is for some of the jobs that I'm going to do on Harpy, which is the timing belt and the automatic transmission. So you can see I've got myself a nice new pair of gloves. I typically use Riggers leather gloves when I'm out bush. They are better because they're multi-purpose, and so you can do that. If you want gloves for handling really hot stuff around the fire, then bring yourself a pair of welder's gloves on to tour. I've got myself a magnetic parts tray. As you're building your tool setup, you'll buy things like this and they'll last you a lifetime, just like your tools. I'm repurchasing because my life got turned upside down 10 years ago and I lost everything I owned. So there's my tray, and here's the parts that arrived in the mail. Let's go through some other things first. Gasket goo. This is a really multi-purpose one. As you can see, it can be used for all kinds of things, and so that's the one I've got. Always handy because they give you a cork gasket for the automatic transmission, but unless the pan is a little bit deformed, I prefer not to use cork because it ends up deteriorating. The manufacturer, glued the thing on with that kind of goo, and so that's what we're going to do if we can get away with that. So these parts here are the gasket for the automatic transmission sump, and this is the filter assembly that filters all the automatic transmission fluid, and it needs to be replaced. The car's done 300,000 k's, so it needs to be replaced at about 150. Well, it probably needs to be replaced. The oil needs to be replaced more often than that. I'm not certain of the interval on the Toyota Prado, but I know it's due right now. So I've got a kind of a knife to help me get the pan off because I don't really have a suitable one, and we're not going to use a kitchen knife. I've got an inspection mirror. Once again, you build these things up over time. This is to help with the timing belt marks, to be able to see them. Now, if we have a look at this box here, it should have the timing belt kit and the water pump at 300,000 kilometers for a vehicle that's being used for remote desert tours. This is the second time the timing belt would have been done, and the water pump is probably fine, but since I'm going to be disassembling a whole bunch of stuff on the front of the engine, it just makes sense to replace it rather than have to deal with it out in the desert. Okay, so let me get these things out of here one-handed. So after I've got it out of the carton, you can see this label here, and this is a really good idea. Don't go trying to fit the parts till you've actually checked that they are definitely the right parts, okay? It's really, really important. Ideally you would pull the thing apart first, take the part off and have it to compare with the new part, but that would mean your car is offline for a period of time and longer, and if you can't get the part, then if you are relying on that car, then that's not good. So now it comes with seals, and I probably should replace them. So that means I'm going to need a puller as well, which I'll have to go and purchase because I no longer have one. But it would be silly to pull all this apart and not replace these seals. So I will show you that when I get around to that part of it. This assembly here is the hydraulic, if you like, or the thing that puts the pressure on the tensioner wheel. So that makes the belt tight. And there should be the wheel in here for that. So there's the wheel, right? And that attaches to this device here, which I'm guessing has a spring in it. And that keeps the belt tight. Some of them are hydraulic, I think that one's a spring. Here is the water pump. Okay, so we're going to show you how you fit that. And some new studs, I imagine, for the water pump, which isn't a bad idea. Really good that that comes in the kit. The gasket for the water pump, that's what that would appear to be. And you'll need to check this gasket for fitment when you pull the old pump off. See that it matches, and then see that the water pump itself matches. We'll show you that when we get to it. And here, of course, is the timing belt. Now I'm going to have a look at it because the timing belt should have 2 marks on it. If it doesn't have 2 marks on it, that's not particularly good. So, now it's a Gates belt, so it's a good quality belt. It should have the appropriate marks on it. And just in case you're wondering, the manufacturers like Toyota very rarely actually make these parts. So when they claim you need genuine parts, they're claiming you need parts that are badged Toyota that were probably made by the same company that makes these parts. So here we go, there's one mark and there's the other mark. So this belt has to be fitted with those marks aligned. If you've watched my previous video, you'll already know that. That's how you, by keeping the gears in the right place, the gears that this fits to, putting the engine to what's called top dead center on number 1 piston, that will line up these marks, and then as long as you don't move anything while you're actually doing the job, you can always fit this and know that it's perfectly well aligned, and then you do a test just to make sure it is. If you were to accidentally move things, well, you can resolve it. It just takes a little bit more time. So here's the tech note, and it's about the tensioner. So it says, gently compress the piston using a suitable vice or C-clamp. Do not force it. Repeat this procedure a minimum of 3 times. Each extension and compression cycle should take no less than 1 minute. On the final compression, reinsert the securing pin to remove the tensioner from the vice or C-clamp. Failure to complete this bleed-out procedure may result in engine damage. Okay, so it is hydraulic. It must have, or pneumatic, it must have some form of pressure contained in there, and this is, you've got to cycle it through in order to get that to work, so it's not a spring. Alright, so we all excited about doing this. It's going to be good to show you how you do a job like this. What I'll do is I will also take some time to show you how to do some simple jobs so you can build up to this kind of thing. One of the best jobs to start with is replacing your air filter. If you've never done that before, I'll show you how to do that. It's really simple and it'll save you a bunch of money not paying a mechanic to do it. And to be honest with you, there are some mechanics who say they've changed it and they don't. So sorry to those mechanics, sorry to all the good mechanics who do the right thing. Now, then we'll move on to doing an oil change, and we'll show you how to do that. And you can slowly build your confidence if you try these things out. And if you have any trouble, you know, don't blame me, but do feel free to call me or message me and find out, you know, I've done this before you go and do something silly. All right, catch you later.